day you gone and slammed the door. I'm crying in my bed with my head down low. Got a feeling like I've never had before. Cause I love you now, even though got you, I lost you. On my mind, can't find this feeling. I miss you all the time. Don't say you love me if you got to go. Cause I need you, I want you to know. Na, 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 na. Your love is not enough. Na, 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 na. And so I got you off. Na, 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 na. Please don't, please don't, please don't break my heart. Na, 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 na. Your love is not enough. Na, 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 na. And so I got you off. Na, 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 na. Please don't, please don't, please don't break my heart. Please don't, please don't, please don't break my heart. Since the day you gone and slammed the door, I'm crying in my bed with my head down low. Got a feeling like I've never had before. Cause I love you now, even though got you, I lost you. On my mind, can't find this feeling. I miss you all the time. Don't say you love me if you got to go. Cause I need you, I want you to know. Na, 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 na. Your love is not enough. Na, 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 na. And so I got you off. Na, 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 na. Please don't, please don't, please don't break my heart. Na, 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 na. Your love is not enough. Na, 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 na. And so I got you off. Na, 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 na. Please don't, please don't, please don't break my heart. Please don't, please don't, please don't break my heart.
chicken, Whitney, Finny. Hold up, stand by, bow. Boom. Yeah. Do it.
That's a vibe.
Hey, hi, stand by. Get out the way, you are mine. To the left, or to the right. We got the place shut down, so stand by. Get out the way, you are mine. To the left, or to the right. We got the place shut down, so stand by. Let me enter the flow. You got me started so dang hype, so let me enter the dome. I went home. I got a lot on my mind and now I'm tryna finish the bone. Currently feeling that anger, so you better leave me alone. I got too much to handle, now I'm tryna get a grip on the thing and hope. I do this much for the people and my family not alone. Stay locked in and trust me now, for I'm the one that's still in the zone. Small things, big things, it don't matter. I had to stay on my cone. Testosterone, baloney. We do not mess with the phonies. Stuck with Tony, Buzz, and Lori, and I'm not capping. Ain't no room for lacking. This my territory. Change that thing up. This ain't boring. Hold up, my mental stage with a lot to take, and I know this ain't touring. Hey, hi, stand by. Get out the way, you are mine. To the left, or to the right. We got the place shut down, so stand by. Get out the way, you are mine. To the left, or to the right. We got the place shut down, so stand by. That's fine, thanks, I'm fine. Do you want it now? Don't waste my time. Keep that focus, I can see it through your eyes. Keep that fire and the energy tight. I'm not playing, do it right. Fly so high, all in the sky. Got that shit on me, I'm hypnotized. Don't worry, I'm met by respectfully. I'm not blind, but I got it in my mind. You just gotta see really who you wanna be. Taking me back in the day, will remember I already know who will take on the seat. She wanna come out my zone and release all the tension and dumb, and now she wanna tease. Let me just go on and breathe it, cause I want the knowledge to go on the road to succeed. I like to be different, so take a hold with it, cause I got the tools and the power to lead. Hey, hi, stand by. Get out the way, you are mine. To the left, or to the right. We got the place shut down, so stand by. Get out the way, you are mine. To the left, or to the right. We got the place shut down, so stand by. Hey.
Academy in itself is nothing new. There's many universities that already have one. But so far, Delft was lagging. And that's maybe a bit surprising in a city where the students are so good at organizing themselves in all kinds of fashions. So a few people, namely Benham Teebi and Arjan Houtenpen, who were members of the National Young Academy, thought it was time for a change. And soon they were joined by Cynthia Lim and Anton Akmarov to actually make that happen. And we're very happy that it led to a very successful Young Academy introduction event in November of last year, where there was a huge turnout. Many people indicated their interest in setting up a Young Academy. And based on that, well, we're now here today to actually make that happen. So, my name is Kees Haringa. I'm one of the board members of the Young Academy, and I will be the moderator for today. What is on the agenda for today? Well, there's maybe a big question that lives in the minds of all of you, and that is, why does Delft need a Young Academy? Why are 11 young researchers with very full agendas willing to dedicate some time to this event, and also some support staff, of course, to support us in this setup? well, the fact that we have very busy agendas in itself is maybe one of the topics that we want to put on the agenda and we want to voice an opinion on, but for sure there's many more important reasons, which will be discussed in the first session of today. Then there will be a second roundtable on another topic that is very close to the heart of early career researchers. And we will close off today with a Q&A session, because it's very important that the community here has a voice as well. But before we move into this program, it's first time for the board members to introduce themselves, which we will do in a small movie, which should now be playing on your screen.
I'm Francesco Vallone, Assistant Professor at the Faculty of Aerospace Engineering, working on aeracoustics. I have joined the Delft Young Academy to help creating a community of early-stage researchers that can support the personal and career development and that can create a network that inspires innovative collaborative ideas.
I'm an assistant professor at the Intelligent Systems Department, and my research is centered around the inference, interpretation, simulation and visualization of realistic digital models for a wide range of interdisciplinary applications. My name is Michael Weinmann, and I've joined the Delft Young Academy to serve the interests of early career researchers in an inclusive and diverse environment and to facilitate cooperations between different disciplines.
I'm a bioengineer, and as such, I synergistically merge several disciplines at the interface between microfabrication, cell biology, imaging, and chemistry. My name is Angelo Cardo, and I start this journey in the Delft Young Academy board with three main objectives: foster an effective interdisciplinary cooperation between faculties, make our university even more inclusive, and last but not least, effectively interact with the whole young community of TU Delft.
I am an assistant professor of policy analysis keen in bridging advances in artificial intelligence to inform policy decisions in human water systems and climate change. I joined the Delft Young Academy to facilitate dialogue among early career scientists to help shape our academic culture and build together an inclusive and stimulating environment where everyone can thrive.
As a Van Rijn tenure tracker, I care about the development of education and educators. As a bioprocess researcher, I care about sustainability and our role in society. And with the Delft Young Academy board, I want to make sure that young researchers are heard on these issues. My name is Kees Haringa, and I'm happy to represent applied sciences on the Delft Young Academy board.
Working at the AMS Institute and being affiliated to applied science as an industrial designer, I value interdisciplinarity and our connection to society. In the DYA board, I'm the only postdoc and happy to represent this early career group. My name is Mariet Sauerwijn, and I'm looking forward to set up a flourishing community together with you.
Hello, my name is Gerwin Smit. I'm an assistant professor at the Faculty of Mechanical, Maritime and Materials Engineering. With my research on prosthetics, I like to give people a hand. And as a board member of the Delft Young Academy, I would like to facilitate collaboration among young researchers from different faculties. In this way, we learn to know each other and we can give each other a hand.
I'm an aerospace engineer trained at TU Delft, and I'm currently working towards understanding the complex aerodynamic behavior of wind turbines. My name is Delphine, and as a recent tenure tracker, I have joined the Delft Young Academy to help create a community for early career researchers that seek to improve the academic culture and obtain a healthy work-life balance.
Hello, I'm Juan Duran. I'm an assistant professor at TPM. I'm a computer scientist and philosopher working in an intersection between ethics and epistemology of AI. I joined the Delft Young Academy because I believe in a strong, diverse, and democratic community that can help each other in various ways and make TU Delft a great place to study, work, and grow as an individual.
I'm an interdisciplinary researcher working at the intersection of mechanics, materials, and machine learning. I joined the Delft Young Academy to develop it into a democratic and inclusive platform for young researchers across all levels. We have a bottom-up approach and want to hear how the Academy can represent and support you. My name is Sid Kumar, and I look forward to serving the community.
Hi, I am Doreen Katsishke, and I'm an associate professor at the Faculty of Architecture and the Built Environment. As a former tenure tracker, a non-Dutch academic, and a mother, I aim to bring an inclusive and intersectional perspective to the work of the Delft Young Academy, which represents the increasing diversity of our academic community. As part of this, I am particularly interested in the role that early career academics can play in shaping a new culture of recognition and rewards in Dutch academia. I look forward to working with you in this exciting new initiative.
So, we have 11 early career researchers all eager and ready to make this thing a big success. And of course, we're very convinced that it will be. But the first question on the table today is, why should we have a young academy at all, and what will it bring us? And for that, I want to call forward my colleague Gerwin to lead the first roundtable discussion. And there he will be joined by Tim van der Hagen, who you might know as being Director Magnificus of this university, and by Benham Taebi, who is a professor of energy and climate ethics, as well as the scientific director of the Safety and Security Institute. And he has been in the National Young Academy since 2016, where he has also been a board member. And as I already introduced before, he was one of the driving forces behind getting a young academy to Delft. Please, gentlemen, if you want to take the table, then we will now move to the first roundtable discussion.
If you both sit.
We'll take a seat, okay.
Yeah.
I'm a late career scientist.
Okay.
After
well,
37 years.
Diversity is important, so
okay.
we should have all kind of people. Okay. Well, we are very honored to have you both here today. And, well, maybe we can start by looking a little bit back on how it all started. Benham, you took the initiative together with Arjen Houtepen. Maybe you can tell a little bit about it. Why did you take this initiative?
Several reasons, actually. Thanks very much for inviting me. Very happy to see this coming along, and very honored to be here today with one of the new board members of the Delft Young Academy. There were several reasons. First was actually an excellent experience that I had myself at the National Young Academy, and the fact that I realized, I hope I'm not keep causing this noise.
No.
No, okay. The fact that I realized that being actually in sort of in areas outside your direct bubble enriches you as an individual academic, and the fact that I learned a lot more about how academia works, and it was also an honor to be able to sort of contribute to the future of academic world. But the second reason was also that we realized this is something very much needed in Delft, and it was a need that we sort of identified among young researchers, because there was no platform, no group of young researchers that could get together, get to know actually the university better, and together shape actually the future of this university. So I think two reasons: individual sort of opportunities that I had myself and enjoyed myself, and secondly, the possibility to contribute to the future of academic world and to the future of TU Delft. This is, my mic is not working, I understand.
No. Nobody heard what you were saying, sorry.
Nobody heard. Oh yeah.
No, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay.
I thought that was. Do I need to repeat?
For the people at home, perhaps.
I do need to repeat. Okay.
Oh my God.
Apologies to you. Tim, can you forgive me?
Perhaps an abstract.
Summarize. Yeah, please summarize.
You know that's not my specialty.
Go ahead.
So the question is why. I think I'm causing still some noise. I'm good? Yes. The question is, why do we need a young academy? Why did we initiate actually young academy?
Well, how did it start? Why do you initiate it? And well, what do you hope to?
The reasons were twofold.
Yep.
One is actually that as I had an excellent experience myself at the National Young Academy, and it enabled me actually to sort of broaden my experience and perspective on how the academic world works actually, and enriched myself as an individual academic, and I wanted to provide that opportunity for other individual academics. And secondly, equally important, because I think it is important to contribute to the future of academic world as individuals, and I think this is just the future of TU Delft in 10 years. And it's important to also facilitate that young academics would be actually sort of jointly together and discuss issues that are particularly related to young academics. An excellent list of subjects we actually heard in the introduction films. And those were the things that we were missing at TU Delft at that moment, Arjen and I, and later together with Cynthia and Anton. We started sort of exploring possibilities, and our invitation was welcomed by many, many young researchers, and we were happy about that.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking this initiative. And so we are here now today. And, well, the executive board has expressed that they were, that they find it important to have a Delft, also a young academy in Delft. Well, why, as a member of the executive board, why do you think it's so important?
It was an official decision even, I remember, yeah, by the executive board, so very important, and it is important indeed. And first of all, I have to congratulate all of you, and especially thank Arjen, he's somewhere out there. Well, I wish you a quick recovery, Arjen. And Benam and Cynthia for the perseverance. I think it was 2019 that you came first to us with this idea. So now we're 3 years along the road, and here we are. So it took a long time, but it's important. And as always, Benam has expressed himself very well, was spot on. I would like to elaborate a bit more on the university level. Of course, for the individual level, it's very important that you meet and see each other and exchange ideas and worries and best practices and so on. But on university and even society level, it's also important. A university is all about people and the interaction of people. That's what the university is about. So you are the future of our university, and if you are a postdoc, perhaps the future of another university or research lab or whatever. Our motto, as you know, is to create impact for a better society. And we do that in two ways. First, by creating scientific breakthroughs, and secondly, and perhaps even more important, by creating or educating the next generation of engineers. 28,000 students at the moment. For that, we need ambitious students, of course. We need top staff. We need top facilities. We need top partners. We need money. So we need good ideas and grants and so on. And the interesting thing is that there is a positive feedback loop. If you are able to attract top scientists like you are, ambitious students will come. And it will be easier to attract money. And you will be more interesting to top partners all over the world, from industry and other knowledge institutions. And even more top scientists will come. So that's an upward spiral. And we are, the last 20 years, I can definitely say so, in this upward spiral. For 20 years now. We started as a regional university, 180 years ago. And we were perhaps 150 years long a regional university. Now we are a global university. I think we can say that, thanks to you. And it's up to you to make that next step, to become even better, because it's fun to be better and to be more successful. Why not? And to have friends who are successful and give you new ideas. And if you are, let's say, interested in catalysis, you meet someone who works on new materials or who works on policy or whatever. And you exchange ideas, and together you come with new ideas. And that way you make the world just a little bit better than it was before. So extremely important on a personal level, for starting your career and working your way up and make sure that you are doing well and feeling well and so on, that your work-life balance is okay, but also for the university and perhaps most importantly for society as a whole. If you are doing fine, the university is doing fine and the society will benefit.
Yeah. If I may build on that a little bit, that's an excellent point, and it's also an intersection between the two issues. It's very important individually, very important for the university and society. And because of that, we are very happy that the university is facilitating actually this platform. And it was also important that it's acknowledged as an official body of TU Delft. Because we need to sort of enable young researchers. We are being evaluated based on our individual, how many papers did you publish and everything, which is very, very important. This is actually also part of our academic work. But we should also continuously being also evaluated on the social impact we have realized, the things we have done for the university. And as Tim correctly says, not only for our own university. You might be working at another university, for academia, not only in the Netherlands, in academia in the world. It's sort of a societal responsibility, a contribution that we have to the academia, and sort of a way of sort of responding to our own responsibility as individual academics. So very happy that TU Delft is facilitating that.
And can you give an example, or well, ideally in a few years, what would the Delft Young Academy has contributed to that?
I think it's very important to think beyond our own bubbles and beyond our own sections and departments, and of course we have our organizational way of thinking. So the reference that many of board members were making actually to interdisciplinary work. That is something still pretty unappreciated, because silo thinking and silo publications, all journals are also that way organized, and our evaluations are being done in that way. So facilitating that, we could reach out at our own university to other faculties and collaborate with each other, particularly thinking about social science and humanities on the one side and engineering and sciences on the other side. That facilitating that as sort of the future of academic work here, that would be an excellent move, an excellent step forward as far as I'm concerned. But that's just one very random example as one of the many things that could be done here in the coming years.
Okay. Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Sorry, we have a lot of questions probably. My mic is doing fine. If I may add to that, you know that I'm a strong advocate of convergence. So it's, of course, technology is important, technological innovations are important for the big societal challenges, but not by themselves. They need to be a part in context with social sciences, humanities, medicine, and so on. That's why we strongly cooperate and perhaps even twine with Erasmus University and Erasmus Medical Center. So I can see as a future for this Young Academy, at least a cooperation with the Young Academy of Erasmus University, or perhaps Leiden University, or the Erasmus Medical Center. I don't know if they have a Young Academy, by the way.
I think Erasmus has one, but I'm not sure Medical Center has a separate one. I think Erasmus University has its own Young Academy. Yeah.
But well, 2 or 3 years from now, perhaps that could be a concrete goal for the coming years.
Okay. Yeah, it's a nice idea. I think it would be really useful.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well,
time's up.
I have many more questions, but time's up. I think
time's running out. But in view of community building, which is a point that you highlighted very well, there's also room for one question from the audience, if you want to. So if there's anybody in the audience that has a question right now, please do ask it. Of course, there will be a Q&A later on, so there will be plenty of opportunity for that as well. Or otherwise, maybe Gerwin, you had one urgent closing remark on your list before we move on to the next part.
Yeah, well, one thing is that a special thing about the Delft Young Academy, differently from other young academies, is that it is fully open to all early academia, early career academics. So it can be a really inclusive community. Why do you think that's important?
I think that the deans insisted on that, and we did as a board. That your original idea was to have a classical Young Academy, if I remember well.
I have to admit that you're absolutely 100% right. Our original idea was actually sort of replicate what was happening at other universities. So nominate actually individual academics, as we do for the National Young Academy, as we do for the membership of the Royal Academy, and many other things. So we were thinking along the same way. And I have to say that our deans actually gave us pushback, that the board gave us pushback on, so be more inclusive, facilitate actually sort of more inclusive, and let everybody be a member of. So we were striking a balance between, on the one side, wanting something to be acknowledged. If you're sort of spending time for your university, that work needs to be acknowledged. And also you need to also be evaluated on that in the annual evaluations and later on for your tenure discussions, for instance. That's a contribution you're contributing to your community. That's also very important. That's not necessarily an excellent paper in Nature that everybody would acknowledge. That's a different type of contribution that should equally be acknowledged also. So we wanted on the one hand side to be actually sort of acknowledged that the work of individuals for spending time will be acknowledged. On the other side, be inclusive and not select and nominate people. No. So that resulted in actually what we see today. So that worked very well.
So if you would like to be part of this community or this movement perhaps even, you're welcome and you should feel welcome. Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay. Indeed. And I think that's a wonderful statement to close this discussion with. So
is there an age limit, by the way? Is there an age limit? Because I said if you want to be, want to join this community, well, there is an age limit, isn't there? Or what is it?
Academic age.
I think academic age was only...
since PhD or what?
Yeah. 10 years, right?
10 years.
10 years after PhD.
Oh, yes. Sorry, yes. Not for me. No.
Unfortunately. Well, a big hand to both of our guests for this first roundtable. And I think they have given us a very big mandate, because apparently it took 150 years to go from a regional to a global university, and now we have to go beyond that. Well, the literal sense, that's a big step that our aerospace faculty has to make, I guess. But in a more figurative sense, of course, the university of the future is one of the topics that early career researchers will be considered with. However, that's not the topic of the next roundtable, that's something else. And to introduce that topic and also to lead the next roundtable, I want to call forward my colleagues Darinka and Francesco. If you would please take the table, and then the floor is yours to introduce what we are going to do in this second roundtable.
Welcome everybody. In this second roundtable, we are going to talk about recognition and reward, and we have two guests. Before giving the floor to Darinka that introduces the topic, I would like to invite here at the table my colleagues, Angelo, Yasmin, and our two guests, Noel and Yari. Noel de Miranda comes from the University of Leiden, where he works as a cancer researcher and is part of the Leiden Young Academy. And is also recently being appointed as board member of the National Royal Dutch Young Academy. Huh? Just member, sorry. While Yarin, he comes from the University of Amsterdam, the VU University of Amsterdam.
VU University.
Yeah, VU University of Amsterdam, where he works as a criminologist and assistant professor in public administration. And he is the chair of the Delft, of the Amsterdam Young Academy. Thanks for joining. Please, Darinka.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? So first of all, I would like to say I'm really pleased to be launching this fantastic initiative today, the Delft Young Academy, and I would like to reiterate our thanks to the initiators, Benham, Cynthia, Anton, and Arjan, sorry. And well, here we are, and we have been thinking about what are the first topics that should keep us busy as a new community of early career researchers. And one of them we thought is the current rather hot debate about the recognition and rewards. I would like to know by a show of hands who out of here in the audience has heard or read anything about this recognition and rewards discussion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Well, you don't count, you're part of the board. Well, for those of you who don't know, I strongly recommend you to Google it or talk to your peers to find out what is going on. And basically, what is going on is a new way of rewarding and recognizing the value of academic work. And in 2019, just before the pandemic, we had the launch of a program or an initiative in Dutch academia setting up a new way of looking at the value of academic careers. And well, I have here like an infograph from the document that was launched with this initiative, which states 5 main principles to recognize and reward academic talent. One is diversifying and vitalizing career paths. So basically recognizing that there are different ways in which we can be a good academic. The other one is achieving a balance between individuals and the collective, meaning not only focus on individual achievement, but also on teamwork. As odd as this might sound to us academics, focus on individual achievement. Stimulating open science, so the impact on society, sharing our knowledge to wider audiences. Focusing on quality, meaning not only on bean counting, basically the emphasis on quantitative indicators of success, and stimulating academic leadership, so how to become a leader. Now, this all sounds very nice, but what we see in practice is that it's actually quite tricky to implement this when the wider world, the wider scientific world, is continuously telling us to compete on an individual level and to quantify our achievements instead of looking at it more holistically. And last but not least, we have that recently there's been some critical voices amongst early career scholars in the Netherlands who are against this new way of rewarding and recognizing. They actually would like to see the traditional system being rewarded, at least in NVO competitions. Why? Because they think this is the only way to achieve good science. So there are these tensions between individual and the collective, between quantity and quality or a more holistic approach, and other tensions. So we wondered what is the view that other young academies in the country have about this topic. And here I would like to give the floor to our guests and our members of the board to address this question. Who would like to start?
Yeah, I can start, Darinka. Thanks for the introduction, and Yarin, Noel, it's a pleasure to having you here. Thanks for coming. So, as we heard from Darinka, but also as we heard in the previous roundtable, recognition and reward is a central topic, and someone talked about the fact that the number of publications, the name of the publication, the impact factor of the publication. But we know that since 2019, with the new recognition and reward approach, there are also other non-traditional assessment metrics. So maybe I start with you, Noel, and I would like to know, how do you position yourselves as a young academy?
I think I need to use this one. Well, first of all, many thanks for the invitation. I was actually one of the inaugural members of the Young Academy Leiden, so it's nice to see TU Delft starting your own Young Academy. Regarding the issue of recognition and rewards, I would like to start by our colleagues, by the people we see at the university. And what we see is a lot of colleagues that have a huge diversity of tasks and really heavy workloads and do not feel acknowledged and recognized for it. Your dean rightly said that the university is for people and is built by people, but if you have the majority of your people unsatisfied, that's a huge risk for the university and for the sustainability of the university. So the current system, I think we can say that it's not optimal or it's not okay. So we definitely need to move to a new system where people feel acknowledged and feel rewarded. And I think we need to keep in mind that probably for someone to do 100% research and produce a lot of papers in Nature or Science or so, there's probably someone else that is taking over other tasks. And that person should feel acknowledged for it as well.
Yarin, what do you think about that?
Well, thank you for having me here as well, representing the Amsterdam Young Academy. At the Amsterdam Young Academy, in the beginning, we kind of started with, who are we as a Young Academy, given that we are consistent of two universities, the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam and the University of Amsterdam. But soon, just because of meeting with each other and also having to get through the COVID-19 years, well, it's still not done, we discovered that we really want to see each other, also to share experiences as scientists. And the one thing that really brought us all together were some of the struggles we had as a human being, as a social person, that we run into certain limitations, challenges. And we started to think, okay, so maybe we should start caring about each other. And that's how we came up with academic care. And we are trying to develop this framework as an implementation of recognition and rewarding. Caring. First of all, it begins with self-care. If you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of your community and others? Then the community, and then eventually society, because they are, well, the taxpayer. We depend on them to an extent. And in having sustainability there, that not viciously but virtuously, of care, we want to give our swing to it, if you like, within the recognition and reward and debate.
Taking care of yourself. I really advocate as well this. You have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others, in order to promote, let's say, a positive environment and a fruitful and constructive environment. So if I have still a moment, maybe provocatory question. Do you think that there is room for having these 2 points of view, the traditional metrics, let's say, supporters, and the new recognition and reward supporters? There is room for cohesion between these two views, or would you rather be more in favor of one of these two sides?
I think we should just try first, see what happens, because if you don't give it a chance, then you don't really know what it can do. And maybe there will be a backswing to the traditional way of doing academia, whatever that is, by the way. Because when I was a kid and I thought about academics, I always thought about these Greek philosophers walking down steps in Athens. And now I realize that's really not the case anymore. So, you know, in deciding what it is that we want to do, then we should first do it, I guess.
Yeah, I fully agree. Just to add a bit onto that, I think an academic career is not a monolith, right? So there are many different types of academic careers. And if you go to the department next door, an academic career looks very different from the academic career in your department. So probably we have to come up with smart systems that are also adaptable to certain fields and to different types of focus by the academic himself. Just to add a bit onto the argument of the international competition that this will harm our ability to be competitive internationally. I mean, excessive competitiveness has also brought a lot of bad stuff. I mean, we have fraud happening because of excessive competitiveness, really bad working environments because of excessive competitiveness. So I don't think competitiveness is just promoting a good science.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah, maybe we can move on with another question.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Again, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being so willing to provide insight and your experience. This is really valuable to us now that we're starting. So I guess my question is, how do you think this debate between rewards and recognition and traditional assessment metrics impacts the career prospects of early career academics who seem to be caught in the middle of this transition? Yeah. No,
I tend to be a bit optimist about it and say that if we're going to evaluate people in a more diverse way, there will also be more opportunities as well, where people can apply their qualities into specific aspects of the academic career. I'm not naive about it, though. I do think the implementation of a good reward system requires more structural funding so that you can diversify the support into different shapes of the academic career. But in principle, I see it as a good thing.
Yeah, same here. It's a good thing. But as you said, we're somewhere in between right now as early career scholars. Well, I'm not that early career anymore. But I feel, for example, a responsibility to look at the younger, even younger early career scholar generation, student assistants, for example. Like, how are they doing? And telling them about recognition and rewarding already. Or a very eager research master student who wants to publish, and then basically finds him or herself hitting almost a burnout. And I think those are the small interactions between two human beings where you can say, hey, you know what, watch out. And there's a whole debate going on that we academics are taking seriously, and be aware of this. You know, there's a voice for you as well. And I think that's maybe the difficult task of our generation, to realize that maybe we won't get the benefits immediately, but generations to come will. But that's how I see it.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I have time for, yeah. Well, just a little follow-up question. So I would like to know, for instance, in your experience, how do you foster this collaborative or this collegiality, and how do you balance that with the requirement of being competitive? So for me, it was like more, you need to be cutthroat, but now it turns out that you need to be collaborative, and how do you strike a balance between these?
Healthy competition. Also talk about it with people who you work with. Like, hey, how did you get in that journal? I mean, as social scientists, we don't really even think about nature or science. I was just a bit impressed by that just now. But you try to be open about it, which is sometimes difficult because we're expected to be robots sometimes. And I think that's also an element of the problem, that you're not really. So yeah, social settings where you can share more things with each other and talk about these things freely, and be mindful about what it is that you exemplify. If my students look at me like, whoa, this guy is going to the Ministry of Justice and explaining his research on what they need to do, they don't realize how much hardship went behind that to get to that point. And to be open about that in classes as well, kind of like trigger something like, oh, all right, well. And it's really not that hard to do, but it's at the same time also quite scary. So, you know, it's a bit of trying to do it.
Yeah, indeed. Well,
yeah, I pretty much agree. I think one of the nicest things of getting together with other people at the Young Academy was to be able to share a number of vulnerabilities. As you say, it's not very easy, but as soon as you get to know each other and you understand that actually your struggles are very similar to each other, well, there's in the beginning you feel a bit sorry for that, but after a while you actually start thinking of solutions of how we can improve the system, because I think that's where you need to focus. I mean, the power lies on you or on all of us to change the system, and we shouldn't underestimate that power.
Indeed, I agree. It's not an individual thing, right? And well, also, I wanted to ask you about what's the role in teaching in all of this? Do you see any strategies to have like the same level of recognition for teaching as there is for research and winning big grant proposals, where clearly teaching is like a big part of university infrastructures with students, where also a big part of it is where you know, forming the next generation of scientists, but it's this kind of recognition has been kind of relegated. So how do you see a good way to move forward with teaching?
I think COVID showed us that we really need physical teaching. So I think that's one thing to put the emphasis again on. Not forget about the fact that teaching is just more than just sitting in front of a screen, especially for students who've been through a very hard time. But also, for me, a very obvious question, but not often asked: what do I like to teach? That's not something very common, as I noticed with my colleagues, with my indirect colleagues at universities. And that's a very simple thing to do, but for some reason it's not really, you know, a question addressed that often.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree that the pleasure for teaching is something very important as well, in order to have a good education. I haven't been at all my classes during university. Actually, I haven't been at a lot of classes, but the ones I went to were the ones that had good teachers. Yeah. And I really think we should motivate the people that are good at it and that really like it to spend time in it, because it is a lot of work, but again, it's probably not being recognized as well as it should. So it is very important that we tell the people that teach well, you're very good at it, and there's career progression in front of you. I do think that in the university environment, there should be some connection between education and research. So what would be exactly the right system to have teachers in a way that they still feel involved, or people that have a major track in teaching that are still involved in innovation and research? That is something that is worth discussing as well.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, time is short today. I would like to thank you both for joining us, and I'm pretty sure that we are going to have good meetings in the future where we are going to collaborate on this topic and on many others. Thanks a lot for joining. I give you back the word.
Yes, thanks to all our guests indeed for this wonderful roundtable discussion. A very important topic on which has been introduced today, but on which the final word hasn't been said for sure, and something we will work on with the Delft Young Academy. But as already alluded a few times today, the Delft Young Academy is all about community. It's not just about the board members. And that means we want to give you a voice today as well as the community, as the audience here, as well as the audience at home. So now there's room for you to ask all your questions, which if you are following online, you can do so via the chat, and we will get them here on the tablet. If you're here in the room, of course, just raise your hand and we'll pass a microphone to you. And then the four gentlemen over here will answer all your questions. So we have Juan and Sid joining us now, and also Gerwin and Francesco, if there's any questions related to the earlier roundtables. So feel free to ask your questions. The floor is yours, audience. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Daan Bos-Zuid. I'm a postdoc here at the Faculty of Architecture and Built Environment. I was wondering, maybe at a more practical level, if you could tell us a bit more about the types of activities that you envision for the Young Academy.
Maybe I'll take that one. Yeah. So it's actually, we want to have a very bottoms-up approach. So instead of us pushing out agendas, we want to find out what are some of the burning institutional concerns among the early career researchers. What are the changes that you want to see at the university level going into the future? And of course, we have some of our own topics, but we want it to be sort of like a democratic platform where you can bring your own concerns. Other than that, like we discussed in the previous panel, recognitions and rewards is one of the major topics that we will definitely be working on. Maybe other topics?
Diversity and inclusion is also a major topic. Some of us are more or less interested in different topics involved. What Sid is essentially saying is this is an invitation for all of you to approach us and have this opportunity to actually shape the agenda, as it were. There are preferences, of course, but also we want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and for sure, we will also organize social events and things like that, or events where we can meet each other and to learn to know each other and, well, to facilitate easy exchange of ideas.
And also come up with solutions together. So we don't want to be the only ones who come up with
of course.
solutions.
This is not a one-way conversation. Yeah.
There was a question over there, yeah.
Hello, I'm Christine Groesmeijer. I'm a relatively new PI at TU Delft in Bio-Nanoscience, and I actually wanted to ask along the same lines as my predecessor, but how in practice do you want to collect our opinions? And the second part of the question, how do you define then us being a member of the Delft Young Academy?
Okay, I'll try to answer that one. So how to collect your opinions? There are at least on the table there are at least two options. You can correct me if I'm wrong. One would be to send out a survey, kind of like standard way. But the second one, and I personally feel that it's more important, is that you can come to us and we can have a conversation, person to person, one to one, and that will bring much more than just a mere survey. But we also want to reach out to those that cannot really approach us for this conversation. As for the second question, could you repeat the second question? What was that?
How you become a member.
Oh, how we become a member. I don't know. How do you...
That's the easiest part. You just start joining us in our meetings because it's completely open platform. We don't want to be an exclusive club of people. It's not a social club. It's not, we don't have any kind of selection criteria. Please just join us along the journey, that's all.
Well, we have one selection criteria, right? You need to have a PhD and for maximum 10 years.
10 years.
But I'm sure we
But other than that...
But even that, it's not a hard criteria. If you have a solution or a concern for early career researchers, I'm sure we can make our way around it.
You wanted to add,
Maybe
Francisco?
I can add something on the first point. At a certain point, we can also come to you, because, for example, in my faculty, there is a TT meeting, so there we can collect information and bring back to the board. So there are many ways of approaching each other. We really need to simply start doing it.
I'm going to take one online question now, but if there's questions in the room, of course, please do raise your hand. A question by Martin, interested in hearing what some concrete steps could be to facilitate more interdisciplinary work and recognition at TU Delft. Very relevant question, I think, also in light of the earlier discussion, and of course, very eager to hear your opinions on this.
Sid?
Yep. So one of the ideas we've been discussing internally as well is it's kind of inspired from the fusion project that we have in the 3ME faculty, where two PIs from different departments can write a short proposal and you get a small... Do I need to repeat? I guess so. So this is something we've been discussing internally that is kind of inspired from what we have, what's called cohesion projects in 3ME faculty, where two PIs from different departments, they come up together, write a short proposal, and get a small amount of money to get the ball rolling for that research project, which can ultimately lead to bigger projects. So along those same lines, we hope to...
this is then between different departments within the faculty.
Within the faculty.
To stimulate collaboration with, among different departments within the faculty.
Yeah, and we plan to develop something similar for interfaculty level within the university. So let's say someone from aerospace wants to work with someone from TPM, and it should be very easy to get some kind of seed fund to get it started, right? Maybe you want to add something.
I guess that starting to have meetings together is going to sparkle some sort of collaboration as well. And if that were the case, we will do our best to support that collaboration that comes from those meetings. Yeah.
And there will definitely need some kind of institutional involvement as well to get that amount of money involved. So that's something where the academy plans to get involved and get this idea rolling.
Yep. Questions in the room? Yes, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Irene Deduce from the Faculty of Aerospace Engineering, and I should caveat that I missed the beginning, so if you've already discussed this, please feel free to ignore the question. I was wondering, what's the plan for how the Young Academy will be interacting with the university, with the more of the management side of the university?
Not discussed yet. Very good question. Who wants to pick it up?
Well, we are just at the beginning of the organization, to be absolutely honest with you. So we're 11 members, and we're trying to organize the different part of internally of us as the Young Academy, but as well reaching out to all the other faculties. I think that one positive element that we have is each one of our members is a member of a faculty. I think that there is one faculty missing. Yeah, but we have a member or representative for each one of the faculties. The ways that we're going to do it, it's still on the table. There are several ideas that we're discussing, but right now we're internally organizing ourselves and then see how we can reach out to the rest of the community. But it's definitely our goal to do so, because that's why it's going to give a meaning to the Young Academy.
Does anybody want to add to that, or are we all satisfied with the answer? I think we are, right? So one of the other questions that came in online, also in relation to the recognition roundtable, there it was already mentioned that an academic career can be very different depending on which faculty you're in or even which group you are in. So what is a position when it comes to clarity on the tenure track guidelines? Is that something we will act on with the Young Academy?
Maybe I can answer that since I'm at the end. It's always a bit unclear what they expect from us. It depends on the department. Actually, it depends on the sections as well. So one of the steps that we would like to take is to at least have a unified view per faculty at the beginning and even at the university level later on, to really understand which aspect they're going to evaluate. And from my personal side, I have to say I've been kind of lucky because in my case I've been very much recognized also the work that I've done with the others. And I think that's something that we need to bring up and expand. Because in the case, it's not only myself as PI that matters, but my contribution to 5 different projects. And then we are working on 5 projects instead of 1. So that's a step. So really taking out the best of our experience and the worst as well, discussing with the dean and the head of departments and trying to implement it as soon as possible. We have many people at the end of the tenure, in the middle of the tenure, so we can see actually it changing in time.
Maybe I can add to it.
Go ahead, please.
So apart from getting the institutional changes, which could be a little bit long-term, one thing I've realized is that we're all kind of living in our own bubbles in our departments or sections or faculties, in the sense that, okay, this is the tenure criteria that is considered in my department, and maybe my assumption would be that this is the same for all departments. But actually, if we look out, this is very different across even sections, not even departments. And so if we have a platform where, you know, we get to talk to each other, we get to know what's happening in departments and other faculties, maybe on a personal level we'll be more aware of just going to our supervisor or our department chair and go like, hey, this is what's happening in another department. Can we also try to include that, at least for my personal case, for my tenure evaluation? So just getting some more awareness could be the first step before we even look at the institutional changes.
Yeah, and I think it's not only useful for us as the tenure trackers ourselves, but also for the people of the departments. If they can improve the tenure track, it's also useful for them.
And let's not forget that we also have the support of the board. So should we come with a unified front regarding what this would mean, we have a place to have a conversation.
Questions or maybe remarks about this topic in the room? Yeah? Yeah, we'll make sure the microphone gets there.
Yeah, hi. Katharina, I'm a postdoc at TPM, and I have a question related to postdocs. So postdocs, you have one postdoc board member, and as you know, postdocs have completely different worries than tenure trackers. So how are you going to consider that? And we try to organize university-wide as well, but it's kind of difficult because of the fluctuation. Mm-hmm. But since you are institutionalized now, that might be a good platform to actually get more postdocs on board and help them work on the worries. So what are you thinking about helping postdocs specifically?
Specifically, I don't think that we have anything concretely planned, but I think it's a great idea. Yeah. And this is the kind of things that we need to have a conversation. So please approach us and let's see what you have, what kind of idea you have, and we started the conversation. Yeah. That is the idea. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you can organize a special event for postdocs to have a brainstorm session.
Absolutely. Or the good thing that we have a postdoc as a member, so there you have.
Or we can even encourage the postdocs to get together and have their own sort of unified front and a platform.
That existed, but it's...
Yeah. Well, but perhaps by having the Delft Young Academy, you guys can have a different sort of institutional representation identity. So yes, just reach us and we start the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea, I think, and definitely very, very valuable feedback and input for us for the future. Is there any final question in the room which we can address in view of time? There are a few more online, so if there's none in the room, then I will ask a final question from the online chat, which is, how can we avoid that early career researchers are hindered by, say, hierarchy? The older professors often taking all the credit for a lot of things.
Create anarchy.
I think it goes back to the point I was mentioning, like, let's have an open communication between the tenure trackers and also postdocs. And if, let's say, I'm in a hierarchical system and I found out that Juan and Gerwin have a very flat hierarchy, and then I can start bringing my opinions to my department board and go like, hey, this is what other departments are moving towards. Let's start doing that for our department as well. But if we all live in our bubbles, then, and if we don't know what's happening in other faculties, I don't think that's going to happen. So maybe the first step is to just increase awareness and among all the early career researchers.
Yeah, and I think as a Delft Young Academy, we can also contact people at different levels at the hierarchy, whereas an individual you perhaps don't have direct access to, but as a collective, we do.
Because each of us will have a different experience, so we know how it's been tailored for each specific case, and we can find a better solution altogether.
And if there's any special case where it's really kind of a bad situation, please approach us and we can help you get institutional access for that as well.
See one quick remark here in the front. Maybe Darinka, you... No, it's okay.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Also, just be eigenwijs. So, be maverick. Put yourself out there. And what we learned in doing so is that the rector magnifici. of both universities actually kind of like that, and we're like, oh, whoa, okay, we got direct access to early career scholars. We want to hear them and talk about them and actually ask for advice at certain instances as well. So be aware of that role, grab it.
Yeah, well, from control theory, we know that we can only have an optimal system when we have a good feedback loop, so we can be this new feedback loop. So.
Yeah, very good advice, but we won't be so eigenwijs today that we'll run a lot longer. We do have a time limit, unfortunately, today. Maybe there's some closing remarks from the table before we close off the event completely.
Well, I think that what we can say is that we try to answer these questions to the best of our capabilities, but unfortunately, the truth is we're just starting. And we really, really need your help. This is not a top-down, Sid mentioned this is not a top-down approach that we want. We are not enlightened people that are going to be telling you what to do. We need you to come to us and tell us what your problems are. We can start there with the postdocs, absolutely, but there are other concerns, other questions, other issues that want to be addressed. So we will try to be that, an open Delft Young Academy where you can come and have an open conversation with us. So, thank you.
Indeed. So let's have a round of applause for my fellow board members for taking all your questions. And indeed, a very, very important thing to highlight once again by Juan, it's very much a community effort. We as the board will be here to execute all kinds of things and set things up. But we need your input to make sure that we know that we're doing the right things. So we want to invite you continuously as a community to provide us with your input, your ideas, your thoughts, your opinions, and everything that we can use to make this thing a big success. So this was very much the start of something new, and we hope that it will be a very lively community in the future. But with so many great people, I think it will be a huge success. Before we close off completely, of course, I want to thank a few people. First of all the guests, the speakers that we had today. The people here of the Media Center, we have very big thanks to Birgit as well for coordinating all of all the things surrounding the Young Academy. So a very big hand to all the people that made this event possible today and that make the Young Academy possible. And with that, I want to invite you to be part of our community, so keep an eye on our webpage to make sure that you can follow all the things that we're planning, that we're organizing, follow all the socials that we have. And for the people that are here in the room, I would very much like to invite you to the drinks. For the people at home, many thanks for tuning in today, and we hope to see you in future events. And in light of making your voice heard, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you go out and vote today or tomorrow as well. It's a very important thing to do. And now it's time to close the session. Enjoy the drinks. Bye-bye to everybody at home, and see you later.